We did it with our awesome opening music. Welcome, everybody, to another rousing edition of Self-Publishing Insiders. I'm Jim Azevedo, and today I'm thrilled to be joined with my friends and colleagues who I don't get to see nearly often enough. I've got Lexi Green, our social media promotions coordinator. I've got Dan Wood, our Chief Operations Officer. And I've got Mark Leslie Lefebvre, our Director of Business Development, all joining me today. Hey. So today is our monthly or semi-monthly Ask Us Anything episode. So, I want all of our viewers out there to please feel free to ask any questions that you might have about Draft2Digital, how it works, about the indie publishing experience, tools, tips, best practices, anything that might be a burning question out there that you may not have seen answered, or that you just, you haven't heard answered or talked about quite enough. Please feel free to drop that in the comment section, and we will do our best to answer every single one of them. Oh, question in the back corner there, you sir, with the jacket and a red shirt.
The first question I have to ask is just warming us up for this is, how is this video right now? How is this video right now like a Sesame Street bit?
How is it like a Sesame Street? Is this like trivia?
One of those kids is not like the others.
Well, you're the only one wearing it.
We'll have a little Draft2Digital tag, except one of us.
We never coordinate this.
It warms people up. They're now looking. They're checking things out. They're like, well,
we never coordinate this. I'm always a little like neurotic when it comes to the tags that we have on our names, and one of us always manages to like be slightly off from the others.
Slightly off. Oh,
Jim, I feel like it should be maybe obvious that if we're on the D2D Ask Us Anything podcast, we're all from Draft2Digital.
Oh no, Dan's our guest from outside the company.
Yeah, I have never met this man before in my life.
Well, I'm gonna pop up a question already, because I just want to welcome. There's new names out there joining in the comment section. So let me just pause for a second to say thank you for joining us. Welcome to the community. We're so happy that you're here. And Nancy, if you don't mind, I'm going to pop up your comment here just to kind of get us started here. Nancy says, good morning. New author today, getting ready to hit the publish button on my mystery. Got my D2D account, but feeling kind of overwhelmed.
All right.
Welcome, Nancy. We're so happy that you're here. But hitting that publish button is kind of scary for everybody, but it's also liberating. It feels really, really good. We're happy that you're here.
And the overwhelmed feeling, I'd love to try to address that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Nancy, I have been doing this for a long time. 20 years ago was when I published my first book, pushing that publishing button way back when. And here's some good news, but maybe some bad news, is that feeling of overwhelm never really goes away, because the industry continues to change and you're constantly learning more. But don't worry. I think the overwhelm thing is that you're excited, you're energized, you've got some nervous energy as well, which I think is probably a good thing for you. But just remember, your book is out there, and you don't have to do everything immediately the minute your book comes out. The great thing that I've learned about the book industry is a book you've never read is a new book. So don't worry that you have to do everything all at once as soon as the book is published. Do the things you're comfortable with, do the things you've learned and understand how to do. And as time goes on, you'll continue to add other elements to it. So, enjoy that overwhelm. It's kind of an exciting moment. Little babies being born into the world, right?
All right.
And if part of that overwhelming is like, you're in Draft2Digital for the first time, new system, first book. If you ever need help, if you ever need a guiding hand, or if you have questions about working within Draft2Digital, we definitely recommend send an email to our support team. They're here to help people, and they've been wonderful with our author base. So don't be afraid to reach out to help be a little more whelmed,
Yeah. Good comments. Good comments. Appreciate that. Another quick comment here, and we'll get into some questions. There's already questions coming in. This one's from Kirsten. Kirsten, welcome. Thanks for joining, and thanks for your comment as well. Kirsten says, I joined D2D this year and love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kirsten. We hope that you're enjoying it and getting lots and lots of books out there into the world. Let's see. Should we jump into the questions? Yeah, there's so much stuff. I was like, hey,
so
guys.
quick.
Yeah. I was telling everybody as we were in the green room, before all of this started, that hey, I've got these questions and comments that we could talk about. If there aren't any questions coming in from the audience, but let's bring up an author question now, and then maybe that'll help break the ice, and everyone will start asking their questions. Let's show this one right away. This is an Ask Us Anything question, or Ask Us Anything episode after all, so let's get into it. I'm going to butcher this name. GS Kaniki asks, a question about how to edit a back cover. I have an existing book, but I'm not happy with how it looks. I'd like to have a larger space between text and edges. Thank you.
I'm assuming that this is based on our automatic cover wrap that we offer for print books.
Could be. Let's take it from that angle.
That sounds like what the situation would be, but yeah.
With our
with our back cover text generation, it's not like super customizable. You can change the font if you like highlight the text and you go into the like size options. You can change the size of the font to see if that fits what you're going for better. We don't currently have an option for narrowing the margins of the back cover. So if you're looking for a more like narrow book description on your back cover, that might be something you would want to provide a wraparound cover for. But in terms of the text, if it's just a size thing, you can tinker around with our font options there.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that, or
that covers it really nicely?
Okay. Let's see. Next question here from MV Mackenzie. Appreciate your question here. She says, I have a question. After deselecting or blocked on Amazon option, is there a way to unblock that distribution channel? And how's the merge with Smashwords going? Great question.
Should we answer the first part and then the second part, you think?
Makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, real quick for the Amazon thing, if Amazon is blocked as a distributor and it's not just like blocked as in your account can't be going to Amazon for whatever reason, if you want to see if you can get that addressed, that's another thing that I would recommend is emailing support for, just for the sake of like making sure that things don't accidentally get unblocked. We don't have that on the user side of things, so that is something that support has to intervene with.
Yeah. And the other thing too is if it's not blocked through some systematic reason, like you haven't filled out the form or whatever, it can't publish to Amazon, per book, you can check or uncheck per distributor. So you can change that as you go on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, okay. So if it's not blocked, then you can just go back to step 4, and ideally that checkbox should still be available.
And I think maybe Dan answers part 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so officially we're about 80% done with the migration. Everything's been going pretty smoothly, maybe taking a little bit longer than we'd hoped, but we want to make it as easy as possible. I think we've gone beyond that. Like it's been a little while since we've updated those stats, so I think we're probably closer to 85 to 90% done. It is still our hope to be done by the end of this year. So it's now we're down to like the accounts that are the most complicated. So people that had Drafted Digital accounts and Smashwords accounts already and have books kind of in between both. And so we have our developers working hard at getting those last outliers taken care of. But yeah, I think by the end of this year or early next year, we will be done with all of that and kind of have consolidated everything onto one distribution platform, being Drafted Digital, and then have a lot of developer bandwidth for making some improvements to Smashwords as a store. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, as one of those outlying authors, I'm really happy that we're getting to that point.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to our development team. I mean, can you imagine? You've got like a couple 100,000 accounts here, and you've got dynamic metadata that's constantly changing all the time. You have books that are live and for sale at stores around the globe, and you have to move these accounts over without losing any of those sales or without losing any presence of these books at these retail stores. Our team, they're magicians, so kudos to them. Next question from Gaming World. Thank you for this question. Gaming World asks, does it take long for books to be published for new authors? I could take a stab at this one because I just gave a couple of presentations
I would love
to authors. I just gave a couple of presentations to authors at conferences, newer authors at conferences who may be new to the Draft Digital platform. And before I started putting together my presentation deck, I went to our customer support team and I was like, hey, you guys, can you give me like just kind of an average about how long it takes roughly for an author to publish an ebook through our platform or a print-on-demand file? And after they got done kind of rolling their eyes at me like, oh, Jim, because there's such a wide range of time it can take. The bottom line was that it could take as little as 5 minutes or less for a new author or even an experienced author. What they told me was that sometimes even authors who are super duper experienced, they've been doing this for years, they may take a while, only because as they go through the publishing process, they're clicking on all those text bubbles. They want to make sure they understand what every little drop-down menu means and that sort of thing. But they said, but even a brand new author, someone who's never published before, can literally publish an ebook in 5 minutes or less. What takes the time, again, is clicking on each one of those text messages. But for newer authors, some authors who are new to the publishing industry, they may not be aware of some of the terminology, like what genre means or what categories they should have their book in. And they might not know how they want to price their book or even what their title is, or they may not have a book's description written out yet. But if you have all of those things, you can literally get it done in 5 minutes or less. And then if you wanted to take your ebook file and create a print-on-demand file from that, you can do that in about half the time, because we'll take all of that metadata from your ebook file, we'll dump it over into the print-on-demand file, and you're essentially done. But I want to caution you guys that when you go through the publishing process, it's not about breaking speed records. We want you to kind of slow down, especially when you get to the part about choosing the interior design templates for your books, because we've got about 24 just beautiful templates that kind of give your books that finished quality sheen, that professional look that readers will come to expect when they're buying your books from large retailers. So very fast. I hope that answers the question. And Dan had to step out. He's expecting a delivery, so he gave us a heads up before that he had to step out for a minute.
Yeah, I love that you came up with a list of topics for us today. I'm not sure if we're going to get to one because we have so many questions in chat today.
Yeah, and if we don't get to one of your questions, folks, please like ask it again, because there's I'm looking at this list of questions and it's growing quickly, and we so appreciate it. I'm going to bring up the next one here. Let's keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling. Oh, Kirsten's back. She has another question. Any ideas on getting more views and sales?
And I'm going to say I saw about 5 other authors ask the exact same question.
Oh, right.
So the first thing I want to remind people of is the awesome Megan Spann, who works with authors on author promotions directly with our various partners. I'm going to pop up the little banner. You can go to this URL, d2d.tips/d2d promo form. Fill it out. Tell us about your books. Let us know, hey, I published this genre. I'm using you for these platforms. That goes into a database that Megan pulls from when she has promotions from various platforms. So it could be library platforms. It could be some of our retail platforms. So if your book comes up as eligible in those categories, you'll get invited to these promos. That's one of the ways of getting it. If you already have like a BookBub feature deal or something exciting going on that you want to let us know, you can also use that form. There's just a different radio button there. Let us know, what you've got coming up. Like, hey, in just middle of December, I have a 99-cent BookBub feature deal on this date, etc. Because Megan will also send it over to our retail partners just to give them a heads up, so that they may want to, promote and feature your book and spotlight it, or just be aware that this is something that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, thanks for taking that, Mark. This is an interesting question. I'll bring up this next one here about pricing. This is a question from Solvig McLaren. I hope I'm pronouncing your first name correctly. They ask, the price of our paperback at $15.99 US. The price in Australia is out of sync, showing at $38 Australian dollars. 38 Australian dollars. With the current exchange rate, the price should be closer to 25. Why is this?
So a thing that a lot of authors don't understand, because with ebooks you control the price, and it's basically what's known as the agency pricing model. You can set prices exactly with ebooks at a lot of different vendors. With print, it's wholesale, and so you don't actually control the price of your book, what's going to be shown to the end user consumer. You control what's going to be paid out to you. The different retailers can price it as they wish, and they adjust. It's not based on like a currency exchange. It's actually, there are more costs to printing in Australia. There are far fewer printers there. There's also just supply chain issues with paper being more expensive and some different things of that nature. And so the price will often be out of sync. The retailers, like sometimes Amazon deep discounts books and uses them as loss leaders. Sometimes different retailers will add to the, add on top of whatever your wholesale list price is, so that they make more margins on it. Just unfortunately, you'll never have full control over that. Audiobooks work the same way. They're a wholesale model in general. There are, I think there are a couple of exceptions to that, but it's just the way the whole industry works.
Yeah, it is worth noting though, if with your print book, when you set your print price in our system, typically it generates like the kind of projected price in other regions, but there is an option to manage territorial pricing if you want to control the base price in the other major regions. So if you are unhappy with what your print book is being priced at in Australia, you can certainly look into seeing what your territorial prices are, and maybe setting that manually to see if that brings it closer to what you're looking for. It might adjust what your royalty rate is out of that region, but if it makes the book more aligned with what you want to be selling, it's worth looking into.
Okay. Yeah, thanks you guys. And thanks for the question. Next question from Esfari. Hello, everyone. Connecting from Malaysia. Awesome. Welcome. She says it's 2:04 a.m. here. Question number one. My question, can we include sketches in between the chapters, like in a paperback on D2D?
Yeah, we do accept images in our books, even in print. In print, we are currently only doing black and white interiors, so the images will appear in black and white. If there's an image that is so dark heavy that it's going to cause bleeding through a page, the printer might reach out and say that would be an issue with printing. But in general, you can include images in your books, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's bring up the next one. Wow, I love this. Let's see. Hi, Beth. Beth Cox is joining us today. She says, I'm thinking about using a second pen name. Will books published under that name appear in the also by section? Can I control whether they show up there?
No, they don't. It's by author. And so just because there's going to be some authors that are writing in genres that aren't necessarily connected, it just will show in the also by section the books from that specific pen name.
And yet, Beth is talking about, for anyone who's not familiar, this is with the automated end and front matter that we add to your EPUB for the convenience of saving you time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Let's see. Next question from Joe. Hey, Joe. Welcome to the show. Appreciate your question. Joe says, I'm wondering why D2D has an arrangement with Ingram to offer books to bookstores at a short discount and with no return policy. This is a deal breaker for most bookstores. Who would like to field that one?
With the return policy, we're likely never going to offer returns as an option. It's too open-ended and it's too much of a risk for authors. As it is, a bookstore can order 100 copies. They can't set a limit on that. And if they don't sell them, you're on the hook for all the printing costs and shipping, essentially. You don't get those books back. They just get shredded or ripped covers off, all that nonsense. we sell plenty of our print-on-demand books to bookstores. So bookstores will order anything that their customers are asking for. Now, if you're an author going into a bookstore and saying, please stock my book, I think that's kind of their generic answer is they don't really, unless they've heard of you or their customers are demanding your books, they'll often tell people the whole no return policy thing. As far as the short discount, we're just working within the margins of what's available. We're trying to make as much possible, much of a discount possible as we can. And that continues to change over time.
Yeah, and while it's a little harder to get like on the shelf of a bookstore with the no return policy, like Dan said, like you can, if a reader is looking for the book, these bookstores can still order them. Everyone obviously wants to, like, there's something that feels good about seeing your book on a bookshelf, but like your book is still available. These bookstores still have access to it. And if readers are asking for it, that might cause the demand for them to be like, maybe we should keep a couple of this in stock, see if it catches eyes on the shelf.
Mark,
the
great.
Bookstores may not want to tell you is, they're trying to come up with any excuse for why they're not going to bring in books. But having been a bookstore manager for a long time, I can tell you that I had a limited budget. I only had so much room on my shelves in the store, and it costs money to keep them in the store. That's why returns are so important to the economics of bookstores. They wouldn't exist if they didn't have the ability to replenish their stock, etc. So if you have a small bookstore that maybe has 8,000 titles, 10,000 titles, you can't keep all the books you want in the store because you don't have the budget for it. Even
the
like
physical space.
Yeah, Barnes and Noble, for example, like a big store might have 100,000 titles in stock, but come on, 100,000 new titles get published every day. So there's going to be a lot of books they may want to carry in the store. But any reason for not carrying it, but the demand is the most important thing. If customers are constantly buying, if special ordering, for example, if I'm running a bookstore, even if a book is non-returnable, and I've done this in the past, if people are special ordering it from my store over and over and over and over again, I don't want to miss out on those sales. I'll bring that in stock and put it on the shelves so I can get even more sales if the demand is there. So that's often some of the economics of how bookstore managers operate as well.
Cool. Mark, if I remember correctly, you got hit by a return issue one time, right? Where you were out quite
thousands
a bit.
of dollars, $3,000. And I know a lot about the business, and I took that risk. We don't really want to put our authors in that position of having them take the risk without understanding what they're getting into.
Share that story, Mark.
What happened?
What led to that?
And I just talked to a friend here in Cambridge, Ontario, who recently set their books as returnable using Ingram Spark and just got nailed for $500 in returns, where I think she made $80 on the sales and she got $500 in returns. Same thing with me, $3,000 in returns, but I probably made about $800 on those sales. So it's like 3 to 4 times the cost of what I've earned on a book for returns. So it's a really dangerous proposition. I know some authors are willing to do it. That's where traditional publishers are your best friend. They circumvent all that risk. They take all that risk for you.
They take the risk, yeah. If the return system ever changes and is reasonable where you can set limits on it, we would be there in a heartbeat. As it is now, it's one of the most ludicrous business systems I've ever heard of. You're taking all the risk, you're handing them the product, and then they don't even have to give it back to you. It's just too dangerous for most of our authors who aren't, they're likely not going to be able to make some of those payments and it could be as simple as someone misclicking, like someone ordering books and adding a 0 or something. Just a crazy system.
Ouch. Okay. Thanks, guys. That was illuminating. Let's see. And appreciate it again, Joe, the question. Let's see. Next question. Takara. Welcome, Takara. She asks, can I use my same cover when doing a second edition? If it's the second edition
around that, you might want to add second edition if it's got something different to it, but you could use it.
Yeah, I'd also make sure that the metadata reflects that it's a second edition. You do want to be fair and clear to the customer.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Next question. She asks, Kaneki, had asked a follow-up question here. They say, I bought an edit token. I assume this is for D2D print book.
Yeah.
Bought an edit token and I'm ready to fix typos I found. How do I edit on the page, or do I simply upload an entirely fresh edited text? Okay, I got two of my cohorts.
Yeah, it's the second one. You just upload the sorry, I raised a finger being like, I can answer this one, and then Mark raised two fingers saying it's the second one, which makes me look like a fool. But yeah, no, you can. It's just the second option. You just upload the new file, and that will replace the old file when you push it out to publish.
Cool. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
All
right. Teamwork. Okay, next question. Oh, here's the second question from Asfari. She asked, can I refer to support at Drafted Digital because my chapter break is wonky on a different platform? Sorry. Let's see. This is the Lynn question, but it's something I can't seem to catch a break. So the chapter break is wonky.
Yes, support can help you with that.
Yes.
Our support team actually does something. Yeah, sorry.
Just make sure it's actually a problem with how it's rendering on their e-reader, either their e-reader or within their app. If it's just the preview apps on some of the websites are bad and not consistent. So we can't really help with previews, if they're previewing within a browser. But we do test our EPUBs constantly on the different platforms that people read in.
I know if you're looking at the Kobo previews online, they're horrendous. The previews, the reader's fine. The EPUB that you buy is fine, but honestly, I don't think they've ever had good previews.
I was just about to say we're not going to name names, and then
I'm going to name names. I'm here in Canada. I use it all the time, so I'm very experienced with that. So
that's totally fair. And like for what I was mentioning is if it's a case of the page break looks one way in your Word document, but when it gets to the ebook side of things or even the print book side of things, it's looking different. That could be just the way that our system formats or processes page breaks. And if there's an issue there, then that's something that support can help you with. But yeah, like Dan said, if it's a preview, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Cool. I'm trying to listen to you guys and go through these comments at the same time, and I'm terrible at it.
Such a trooper.
So
we have faith in you, Jim.
Oh, you do? Well, you're the only ones. Let's see. Oh, I completely lost my place. Discuss amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'll grab a question while you're busy figuring things out. This is just because this is one of our more popular ones.
Yeah.
Every time we talk about print, someone asks, and this one is Prog Lover 77. Are we going to get hardcover print options? This is something that we do have as something we want to add. It's something we would have to work with our print partners to get that option available, but it is certainly something we want in our pipeline. This is just the monthly reminder that we are aware that this is a feature people are interested in, and it is something we are actively looking into. We just don't have a timeline on that right now, but I want to give you a little hope for the future.
Great. Let's see. I'll bring up this one here because it's from a newer author perspective from Takara. Takara asks, can you provide some tips for an author who has never published but is actively working on a book and wants to somehow utilize a free book or free content to make money while they write?
Well, how do you make money off a free book? One of the ways you make money off of a free book is if you have a, and I think Takara asks later on about making money from a reader magnet. The reader magnet is something you make available. If you sign up for my author newsletter, then you get access to this free content. And then I can inform you of when my next books come out. And one of the ways you make money is you have a list of people who are following you and are interested in the phenomenal stuff you're writing. And therefore, when you now have a book available for sale, you can communicate with them directly because you can't rely on the retailers to communicate with them. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, we can go on for hours about how reader magnets work, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. We probably have interviewed someone in a previous interview about that, haven't we?
There's no way that we don't have a reader magnet episode. If you search reader magnet on our YouTube page, I'm sure it comes up. Another option too is if you're able to kind of build a following of people, like, and this involves like being on, unfortunately, being online, being like a person that people are going to be interested in following the like progression of. But if you have some kind of follower base, sometimes they are willing to, like, you can get some support there in the form of like Patreon, in the form of coffee, in the form of these like sites that are designed to help people who are interested in supporting creators. So that's another way that, like, even when you don't have either your book ready to sell, or if your book is out there for free, people can still support you. And there are people who will do that. I have under one of my pen names, I do have followers who have been wonderful in terms of like contributing to just help me continue with the work that I do. So
cool, thank you. We'll bring up this next question from Karen. Thanks for the question, Karen. She says, I'm new to D2D. Only signed up yesterday. Welcome. She says, I'm from South Africa. Do I understand correctly that Drafted Digital publishes to marketplaces like Amazon, etc., directly on one's behalf? So you get sales through Drafted Digital? Sorry, she says, didn't go through everything yet online. And then secondly, if you are non-US, with regards to tax, you fill in a W-9 form and you're responsible to do your own taxes, right?
Can I, as the non-American in the room, can I answer this one?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, would you set up your account and we will help you publish the book to the various retailers. The retailers take the money from the customers and then they remit that to us. We keep our small percentage of that. That's how we make money. We don't charge you anything up front. And then we pay you when that money comes in from the retailer. So you get paid at various times as well based on that. And you can see that in your account as to how much money you're owed, et cetera, et cetera. We'll even show you what countries it's sold in, what retailers it's sold on as well. And then when you're a non-US citizen, you do have to fill out the tax form. And this is really important. And I don't know if South Africa is in a treaty country with the US, but Canada is. And when you're selling stuff through a US company, Amazon, Drafted Digital, et cetera, there's a 30% withholding fee that the government places on any
the U.S. government.
U.S. government places,
unless there's a tax treaty.
If there's a tax treaty like there is in Canada, I fill it out and I put in my tax ID from Canada, and Canada, for example, is a 0% tax treaty country. So every 3 or 4 years, and I just filled it out last week, which is why it's very fresh in my mind. I got reminded by Drafted Digital, hey, you haven't, it's going to expire at the end of December. So I went and I filled it out again, and then that way there's no withholding. But in the early days, even before Drafted Digital existed, I remember I didn't even have that option as a Canadian, and anything I sold through Amazon automatically had a 30% tax withholding. So anyways, that's something that I hope that helps, Karen. But the cool thing is, Karen, is our support team is absolutely phenomenal. If you have any questions at any time, and we're not doing a live, which is most days of the week, just email us support@drafteddigital.com.
Yeah, and they can get you in touch with our tax client who offers more like tax-focused support. Since obviously when we want to make sure that if you're asking tax questions, you're asking them to the right tax professionals.
Great. We'll bring up this question from Nancy Acevedo. Hey, similar spelling, a little bit different than my last name. Nancy asked, do you guarantee placement or listing on Apple Books, or do they pretty much have a say on that? I heard they are so picky.
So your books
every retailer has a say on it.
Yeah.
They might not get listed. They do, and we check a lot of it up front to try to make sure you're not doing something. Apple in particular is very picky. If you mention Amazon at all, as in talking about the retailer, and not, if you're mentioning the river, they're okay with that. But if you are, say, Amazon bestseller somewhere in your text, Apple won't list it. And so that has to be fixed before being sent to Apple. All the retailers have ultimate say on listing, period. We try to let you know up front if a retailer is not going to allow your book. And sometimes they will allow your book for a while and get change over time. So sometimes the rules change, and we just let you know when that happens. Yeah, there's no guaranteed placement at any of our partners. Just we try to check and make sure we enforce the rules they give us when they give them to us, and send them on if they meet those rules then, and we let you know if that changes.
Cool. And as a follow-on question to that, if I may, Mark, so you lead the promotions team at Draft Digital. When it comes to promotions at any of our retail partners, are some pickier than others? Because I know, like, when it comes to aesthetics, Apple can be like.
Well, you know, Apple, they design the best products in the world, so therefore they're very, very curated and very highly. So we may submit 50 titles to a promo, and they may take 1 or 2 of them. Now, you got to remember, we're also competing with all the big publishers, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one of the things. However, often the library platforms, if we're looking for particular things for the library platforms, Overdrive and Biblioteca and some of the other library platforms, when we're asking for titles, they usually accept pretty much 95% of the titles that are submitted. The only time they wouldn't is if it's not in the genre or it's not in the price range or whatever it is that they were looking for.
Cool. Thanks, you guys, for that. You know, I saw some questions kind of popping up about Blue Sky and social media. So, gosh, we only have about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So
only we had a social media person in this chat.
Yeah, I can certainly kind of speed run this because
what's
we have
going
it
on?
right
It's
here.
like blown up.
So Esvari did ask us, are you all on Blue Sky yet? And yes, we are. We're there as Draft2 Digital, Draft the number 2 Digital, which I think is our name pretty much everywhere. We've thankfully been able to claim that everywhere. The Smashwords name, not as much, but we're working on that. But yeah, we're definitely on Blue Sky, both as Draft Digital and as Smashwords. And Blue Sky has been, it is kind of like the social media topic right now. For the last 2 weeks, it's blown up. I think it's been like 15 million new active users. They were kind of hitting that point of like 1 million new users a day. So like it is interesting to see. We'll have to see like if this is sustained success. I think a big part of a social media platform succeeding is accessibility, and it's like, do you have the people to make it a social space? I think some platforms are a little too insular and don't have like the reach necessarily to sustain a broad active community. Like I think Mastodon's pretty good for like niche communities. I think Blue Sky has the potential to be like another like Twitter-like space. And I'm curious to see, because like right now it's already surpassing the active user levels of Threads, which got off to an early start because when you join Threads, like if you have Instagram already, then you already have an account set up for you. There's a lot. It's in terms of accessibility, Threads was there, but like Threads had an early boom and then kind of tapered off. So it's gonna be interesting to see how high this boom of new Blue Sky users goes as people become a little bit more dissatisfied with the service that Twitter provides. And we'll see where Blue Sky levels off. But honestly, I'm hopeful. I think it's a really great space. I think the tools there are really cool. And I think as an author, it's definitely a place worth looking into to kind of set up your platform for people to find you. I did, unrelated to Blue Sky, I did just want to point out that Beth, shout out to Beth Cox, one of our loyal regulars. In terms of the reader magnet question from earlier, she pointed out that it is an episode where we were talking to Damon Courtney from BookFunnel, because of course it was. So thank you very much, Beth. If you're looking for information about reader magnets, look up BookFunnel on our page. That's the conversation you're going to want to tune in for.
Yeah, there's a couple of those, episodes about reader magnets in particular. Yeah. I want to bring up this question here from Nancy, just real quickly. She's asking, if I publish with D2D, I don't need Ingram Spark, right? Is this right?
One or the other. You use either or. Don't use both, because it's just going to duplicate your listings as well. So, and I would never use Ingram Spark for ebooks. I would use it for print, but not ebooks. So that's my unbiased opinion here.
Yeah, our print distribution goes to pretty much everywhere that you're going to get to from Amazon and Ingram extended distribution. So as long as you're going through us, you're going to get to all the places you want to be. I realize I'm like counting on my fingers, but it's below the screen, so not really helpful.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to keep searching through for questions. I
will pull up while you're looking. Kristen Yates did ask why does D2D not ship author copies to South Africa? In terms of author copy shipping, a lot of that comes down to where we have kind of print house partners and like deals with printers that are going to be able to get author copies out. Unfortunately, it's just the case that across the globe, that's not something we're going to have set up in every single country. And doing that without that kind of partnership is just going to lead to really excessive shipping fees that you're not going to want to deal with. That was something we kind of dealt with really early in DC print when it was still in like alpha, honestly. So I understand everyone wants author copies. It's just unfortunately something that on a practical level isn't always going to be an option.
It just depends on where there are printers that are part of the kind of the global print on demand network. Kind of the same for shipping costs, where stuff comes from. We don't really control that. People, they print as close as they can to where the consumer is or where the author is. Sometimes if there is, say for instance, sometimes with Australia, all the printers there will have all their capacity taken, and so they might print it somewhere else and ship it to Australia. It's the nature of the industry with print on demand, since it's a very different sort of technology than with traditional publishers. They don't use print on demand in general for their big books and releases. They're printing them out. They're putting them in warehouses. That has a lot of costs associated with it. They have a little bit more control because they are working on much longer time frames, and so they often will ship books over print them off at low cost in China and then ship them to the US or wherever they're going in the world.
Yeah, thanks, Dan and Lexi. Next question from MV McKenzie. She asks, is the audiobook AI narrator still exclusive to Apple Store? And are there added channels in the pipeline?
It is still exclusive and will be exclusive retail wise. So since Apple is making those for free, they require those stay on their platform. They will be able, and we're all working towards providing them to library systems. And so that will be coming in the future. It just hasn't gotten there yet. There's some changes that had to be made because everyone has slightly different specifications for audiobooks.
Dan, can you take a second and just describe like what it is that we're talking about here for authors who are maybe newer to the D2D's platform when it comes to digital narration audiobooks at Apple?
For authors that are interested and don't already have a human narrated audiobook, Apple has a program. It's not available to all genres, but it's available to many of the fiction genres, and they're looking at getting into nonfiction, where they can take your ebook and make it into a AI narrated book. They are very careful about letting readers know that this product was made by an AI voice, because there are some readers that don't want that. It is an opt-in program, so you don't have to do it if you have problems with that, but it's free. And so for a lot of authors that have books that don't necessarily make financial sense to convert into an audiobook, it can be a great deal. And we've seen, especially some of our romance authors that have some backlists they got from, many of them got their books back from like Harlequin and some of the different publishers out there. And so those books just haven't been available in audio because while they sell, they don't sell enough to necessarily justify spending the money on a human narrator. And then if you've got like a 30-book series, trying to get a narrator that will stick with 30 books is a lot. So that use case has been very good for some of our authors, and it's great for accessibility. It just there are readers that can't read and they need audiobooks, and there are people that just prefer them. And so they come in at a lower price point than traditional audiobooks. And then, if you get to a point where you do have enough money to make a human narrated version, you're free to do that. It's not exclusive or anything. But like I was saying earlier, it stays with Apple as far as the retailers. And then it will be made available to library systems at some point.
Perfect. Thanks for that explanation, Dan. Try to get to a last question here because we're running out of time. Ali asks, and forgive me if this question has already popped up and I missed it, or it was already answered and I missed it. But Ali asks, are you planning to do full color printing on the inside of books?
We're not against it, but it's expensive for authors, and it probably won't be a priority. The majority of our authors, we're mostly dealing in genre fictions, the majority of our sales, some nonfiction, especially as we get into more and more print. But we don't really deal with a lot of, say, like children's books at this point yet. And so color printing is very expensive. And so it's something, and, just getting colors right is a very detailed science, and it varies. And like all the problems we've had with people submitting from one program, like the different programs that are out there to make print books, and them using different color techniques and trying to get that all to where it looks the way you expect is a nightmare. So while we might do that in the future, it's not going to be like top of our list for a while.
Cool. Just one quick last one. I keep saying that. Envy Mackenzie asks, also, is there a max page limit on your paperback option?
Yes, 740 pages.
Look at you.
That's
wow.
Yeah. It's almost like I looked it up while
it's almost talking. Like yes. Okay, I have to respect the time for everybody here. So, gosh, everyone. To all of our viewers and to my team here, thanks you guys for spending some time with me here today. Thank you to our viewers for joining in, and thanks for all the questions and all the comments. I'm always worried that and every time they prove me wrong, but I'm always worried that, no one's going to ask any questions. We're going to have to fill the space with some other content, other discussions, and then it's just like bang, and all the questions come pouring in. So we so appreciate that. For those of you who are new with us, if you could do us a favor and like, share, comment, and absolutely, if you could consider subscribing to this channel, it helps us out. It helps us spread the word, and it helps us attract guests and experts to help share their advice and expertise with you all. Then, after you do that, be sure to bookmark d2dlive.com. If you bookmark D2D Live, you can go to that page anytime, and you can check to see what next week's topic and guest is going to be. And finally, if you are not published yet, or maybe you're traditionally published and you're considering self-publishing, why not sign up for a free Draft to Digital account today simply by going to draft2digital.com. To my wonderful friends and colleagues, I just want to thank you guys again for helping me out. I'd be like dead in the water if it wasn't for you guys week in and week out. So thanks a million for joining. To our viewers, thank you. We wouldn't be here, not on this channel. We wouldn't exist if it weren't for you. We appreciate all of you so very, very much. Mark, would you like to do the honors and take us out with our groovy D2D print commercial?
Of course. Happy writing, everyone. Bye.
See you next week, everyone.
Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created D2D Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at draft2digital.com.